And then you go to manage participants. You let them in, but you can. Oh, it is recording already. It automatically records. So let Autumn in. Let Naomi in.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Tomas will be here in a second. Hang tight. Naomi, your hair is so pretty. Let me see. Bring your hair forward. Look at that. So pretty.
I think you've seen it
Love
once.
it. Oh, I can't hear anything, Tomas.
Mm.
Oh, here we go. Wait, say that again, Naomi.
Oh, I think you've seen it blonde.
So
in
pretty. I'm a
Thank
little bit blonde.
We're matching.
Not
I
completely.
know.
Oh, okay, have fun. We got a new
Thank
webcam. Fancy new webcam.
Ooh, it looks good.
Hey, Naomi. What's up, Jamie?
How are you?
How you guys doing?
Good.
And then
I just literally was thinking about AirPods because I was like, maybe we just get each other AirPods. And I was like, what if we just get each other AirPods for Christmas and holiday?
oh, the gift today, Camilla. Yeah, I'm cool with that. We're gonna go out. Okay, guys. Wait, let me see.
Yeah, definitely not going all out then.
We got Kelsey.
Yeah, I was just thinking about AirPods.
I think we're good to go. All right, so do we have a better picture than last time with the really cool new camera? Maybe? Can you hear me?
You're pretty low.
I'm pretty low?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Huh. I don't know if I know how to turn this thing up any louder. Maybe there's a piece of plastic. Oh, there we go. Did that make it better? Man, probably not. And it's like brand new, so I peeled off the plastic. Can you hear me now?
Still pretty low.
Oh, really?
From where I'm standing, I won't be able to hear you.
Let me see. So if I'm back here, can you hear me?
No.
No? Oh, no. Okay, so I think there's a way for me to do it from computer audio. Let me just see. Or maybe it's... Oh, here we go. Well, here, let me try this one here. Let me know if you can hear me better now. Is that any better? Audio-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thanks for that. Okay, guys, so we're going to warm up and we're going to, oh, I should be looking up here. Actually, let me just make sure this thing is the right, oh, of course it's chopping my head off. It's really weird when you do the webcam test. It's, all right, just going to move back here. All right. Oh no, I have to stand like this.
Oh, they said, can you grab your water? I was like, where's
It was like the crappy camera was, but no, even the crappy one was short. All right, well, I'll, you know, I'm going to do some of it with you guys, and some of it I'm going to talk as we do it, because we're going to touch on some of the things for yoga sequencing. So you can sit yourselves in your comfortable position.
I think we're waiting on one more. I think Camila's not here yet.
Right, I heard Camila was not going to be joining us today, but I'll keep an eye. I think, I forget what the reason was, but I appreciate that, that detail there. And, okay. Okay, so I hope the kitty whose tail got stuck in the door is feeling better. Is that yours, Kelsey? Okay. All right, so let's do just a little sitting, a little moment to settle in. How's everybody doing today? No injuries, no issues. Hopefully Jamie's hand is on the mend, right? And
I have surgery on Thursday.
okay. Well, maybe that will help, So in any way, being mindful, of course, of your hand and your wrist. Okay, so just focusing a little bit on the inhales and the exhales. So just imagine you're kind of releasing the grip of your busy day from you, and you're allowing yourself that moment to settle in, and just notice the breath. Sitting up maybe a little taller. Eyes can be open or closed. Okay, so let's even think of a 3-part breath. Inhale into the belly, mid chest, and upper chest, like a little wave going up. And as you exhale, maybe that wave goes back down, or maybe the wave goes down in the same order, whatever feels natural. So let that be a point of focus, that when you're breathing in, you're kind of separating things into 3 little compartments and releasing the exhales from those 3 compartments. And then as we're doing this, you don't have to overthink it, but you can send the inhale into the back muscles. So also feel that wave of breath inhaling up in the back of your body. The back rib cage filling up. All those muscles as you inhale in your back getting a little flexing, and as you exhale, catch the breath in the back of your throat for your ujjayi breath to help release the tightness in the back, okay? And just take a little moment, see if you can focus on your heartbeat. Try to notice and feel the heart rate. Okay, so as we slow down the breath rate, because we'll be breathing deeper, you'll be doing the same with your heart rate. Heart rate will start to go down. Okay, and then finally, setting your intention. You can dedicate your practice as you wish today. And when we're ready, we'll do a little warm up in the shoulder area. You can loosen things up. So maybe each day it feels a little different. So sometimes we're comparing to a different day, and just notice what it feels like today. Don't think of comparisons or anything. I mean, of course, if you slept on that one shoulder all night and it's a little creaky, you will acknowledge that. Okay, but also not getting too hung up on it. We'll feel things out in our practice. Okay, so you can bring the shoulders a little bit up towards the ears, let them release and relax away from the ears. Bringing down the chin, just relax the neck. Move the right ear to the right shoulder. Exhale to the opposite shoulder. And exhale again to the other side. So just let the half circle movement happen for a few moments. Notice anything in your top of shoulder neck area, right there where the neck and shoulders meet. If there's anything tight there, let that release on the exhale. Okay, and then you can come back to a neutral position. Bring the, let's say, the right hand outside the left side of the head. Just don't pull, but let the weight of the hand help in that little side stretch. Just take 1 or 2 breaths. Keep the hand there as you lift up to center and switching sides. Nice inhale. No need to pull, just a little bit of that weight of your hand helping the stretch. Exhale, length into that side. Keep the hand on the head as you come up gently. Okay, good. Arms up. And this time we're going to interlace fingers around the back of the neck. Do a full circle. So we're restricting a little bit the amount of how far back you're going to bend the neck by doing this. So this is another little thing that's helpful. It can go both directions. And you don't have to exaggerate the amount or the width of the circle, but just allowing the neck to have a little moment to release there. Keep the fingers interlaced. Dig your thumbs into the sides of the neck. So you're giving kind of a self-massage to your neck. And notice sometimes you're waking up a little bit of stagnant energy. You might feel a little blood flow as things unclog. Okay. Keeping the fingers interlaced still, now reaching up and taking your side stretches. So notice your core helping you in the movement. Release the right hand, and as you reach on the exhale, or on the inhale, lengthen the spine, then exhale to reach a little further. A little bit of movement here for your shoulder to get loose. And switching sides, coming back up, other side, exhale, length into your right side. Lengthen the spine, inhale, exhale to reach. And with the shoulder relaxed, just that bit of movement releases some of the rusty stuff in there. Inhaling back up. Now we'll come to a little seated back bend, just hands behind, lift the heart center. You can let the shoulder blades draw slightly together, and you can even energize arm muscles. You'll feel the muscles hugging the bone of the arm. So this is a little mini back bend. We'll counter that with a forward bend. Just walk the fingertips forward, 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 and reach until you feel that low back stretch. Okay, so and if you want, little by little, you can inch the fingertips forward or just stay where you are. Walk the hands to the right side. Take a few breaths here. Reach the forehead to the right knee. And now over to your left side, same thing. Reach the forehead to your left knee. Good, now come back to center, and now coming to all fours. Taking a moment here for warming up the spine, cat-cow. Knees can be hip width apart. Tucking toes, inhale, lift the tailbone. Exhaling, arching your back up. Inhale, dropping the chest a little bit towards the floor and then pushing the floor away on the exhale. Inhale, tailbone lifting. Exhale, tailbone reaching up. So you can follow this rhythm for a few breaths. Notice upper, lower, and middle back. Getting a little release here. Okay, next inhale, right leg lifting. Lifting the chest a little bit. And exhaling, drawing the knee to the chest. Inhale to lift. Exhale, knee to chest. Inhale to lift. Exhale, knee to chest. Release and switch. Left leg lifting, chest lifting. Inhale, exhale, knee to chest. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, knee to chest. Inhale, lift. Exhale, knee to chest. Okay, separating knees a little bit. Child pose for a few breaths. Tune into your back, hips, shoulders, and just allow the body weight to release into the mat. Knees a little wider than the rib cage. Focus on the hips. Take a few exhales anywhere that might feel tight there. If you need, you can do a cushion for the knees, a little folded towel if you need under the ankles, anything you need to make it comfortable. Good. Then we'll come with the hands forward, tucking toes to press up to our first down dog. Pedal the legs out first. And let's tune into the heels, calf muscles, and hamstrings. Lifting the heels up, reach the sitting bones up. You can drop heels, start to walk the feet to the front of your mat, and then just hanging here, we'll do the limp rag doll. Relax the neck, shake your head like you're saying yes, no, blubbery lips. Let that release the jaw tension, shake out the arms, circle the arms. Okay, you can hold opposite elbows, take a gentle pendulum swing, right, left. And a long exhale, just send it to the back of your body as you hang. Good, allow the neck to release. Knees bent or straight if you want to work towards straightening the knees if they are bent. Try just lifting the hips each time on the inhale a little higher. And also leaning slightly forward. So just focus on the whole back of your body, back of the legs, back muscles. Releasing elbows, will come up one vertebra at a time. Roll shoulders back, shake it out a little bit. Good. Okay, arms up on our next inhale. Find your back bend, lifting the heart center up, and ride your exhale down. Inhale, halfway lifted. Find your flat back and folding forward. Let's step the right foot back. Exhale, left foot back to downward dog. And I'm just going to watch and check in with you guys. You can pedal the legs out one more time. Good. Next inhale, coming into your plank pose. Exhaling, drop knees, chest, chin to come up when you're ready on the next inhale to your low cobra. Good. Tune into the back of the neck. If you want, you can point the forehead down a little bit towards the mat and feel that lengthening in the back of the neck. Exhale to lower down and then lifting again on an inhale. Just a little lift. Let the back work only on this lift. When you're ready, coming back down, exhale. Transitioning back to down dog. You can go either to all fours first or pop straight up. Bend knees, inhale, looking forward. Take a little steps or big steps or hopping when you're warmed up, maybe a little bit later for the hopping part. Let's take that little walk there. Good. Inhale to flat back, halfway lifted. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale to reverse swan dive. Little back bend on the way up and exhaling palms to heart center. Inhale, arms lifting. Mini back bend on the way up. Ride a long exhale down. Just let yourself surrender to the gravity for a moment, letting the head hang. Good. Next, we're going to lift up halfway. Notice that muscle resistance as we lift up, resisting against gravity, and then folding forward, palms down, step left foot back and right foot back to down dog. Inhale, plank. Good. Exhale, knees, chest, chin once again. Low cobra. Exhale, down. Bring your elbows forward now for Sphinx. Reach the crown of the head high. Keep the elbows rooted. Lift the belly button from the floor and send your shoulder blades down the back. Once again, grow a little taller and turning your head right, left. Let that get the kinks out of the neck here. Breathe into your neck muscles. And just letting the head hang in a nice relaxed way. Breathe into the back of your neck. Walking the palms back towards the shoulders. Bring yourself back up to all fours, tucking toes, press up to down dog. Inhale, look forward. You can do big steps or little steps to come back to the front of the mat with the feet. Coming, inhale up to flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, arms by your side. Good, arms up. Now, bending at the knees, we're sitting into chair pose, letting the hips drop. Let your feet stay parallel. Maybe sitting into it a little lower. Here's a little balancing. Okay, so look forward. Just pick up the right foot. Flex the leg and the foot. And bring that foot back. Other foot. Straighten the leg, flex the foot. And bring it back. Okay, interlace fingers behind the back, fold forward. Relax the neck here. So here we're reaching for about 5 to 6 breaths. Just let the hands reach forward. You don't have to force it. Take long exhales and just notice each exhale, those back muscles giving a little and flex and being a little bit less tight, a little more flexible. Releasing the fingertips down in front of your feet. Step the left foot back. Drop that left knee down for this little low lunge here. Arms can be lifted. Interlace fingers behind the back and reach the front knee forward. Good. Just breathe into that hip stretch there. Good. Yes, and of course, anytime we're on the knees, I usually put a little cushion in there to help it along. Good. Now move the hips back. Hands down. Okay, this time reaching up with the right hand. And reaching down. Now reach the hand the other way. Come back up. Exhale down. So you might even get a little snap, crackle, pop as your back releases. Last one here. Third time's the charm. And switching. You can just step the left foot forward and drop the right foot back, dropping onto the knee. Set up your cushion for the knee if you need to. Arms up. Fingers interlace, little back bend, and just sending that knee forward. Tune into your hip, front of your right hip flexor. You might feel that stretch there. So be mindful of the lower back. You don't have to go too far back. That's why I will tell you when you exit the pose, reach the hips back as you bring the hands down. Okay? Allowing for the back to transition there. So inhaling, left arm up. Exhale, down, reaching to your right side. Just playing with the range of motion. You don't have to force it, but as you loosen up, maybe by the third time, you find a little extra radius in your spin there. Okay, so we'll come back to all fours now. Tucking toes, pressing up to down dog. Working with the core a little bit as you inhale to your plank before we lower to chaturanga. Just hold it a little bit. Reach your heels back. Come down, reach the heels forward to scoop yourself and lift into your high cobra. Okay, good. Give yourself a moment, and when you're ready to come back out, send the hips back. Press up to down dog. Inhale. Let's step the right foot forward, and we'll just keep the back heel lifted. So little high lunge where the hips are squared, arms up, shoulders can release a little bit here. Inhale. Let's straighten the front knee to lift. If you want, you can even reach the back heel down or not, and then bend to come down. Inhale up, exhale down. One more up, and switching. You can step the foot forward and switch, stepping the right foot back, setting it up. Good, arms lifted. Melt the shoulders a little bit away from the ears. Use your drishti for balance. Find that nice peaceful breath. Inhale to straighten and lift. Exhale to bend. Inhale to lift. Exhale to bend. Inhale to lift. Exhale. Bend, hands coming down again. Step back to your next down dog. This time you can lift the right leg to the sky. Three-legged down dog. Bend the knee, let the foot flop over your sitting bone there. Your heel will be hovering. Just take a little moment, play around with that positioning. You can move the hip around by moving the knee in circles. Good. Stepping the right foot back down. Switch. Left leg lifting. Sorry, yeah, we're still in down dog. We'll just do the three-legged dog with the other leg lifting. Good. Now your foot that's on the mat, if you want, you can let that heel drop into the mat. You can also press the floor away with the hands for a little. Yeah, I know, Jamie. It's and with the forearm stand, is only so far you're gonna get. But yeah, you're making it work. Okay, release. Good. Now we'll bend the knees. You can hop, step, walk forward once again. Let's touch the mat with fingertips and keep the knees bent as you lift up. Now we're coming up into another chair variation here. Sitting into it a little deeper. Touch the mat, and this time reach forward instead of up. Plug your arms into the shoulder sockets, chest lifted, and as you sit into it, you can reach the heels back, or the hips back. Toes might start to lift. Sit into it again a little deeper, work the legs. Good, hands down when you're ready. Step back, downward dog. And this time for a little variation on plank, pick up the right foot, rest the right foot behind the left heel, come into a three-legged plank. Good, we're just gonna hold this for a moment. And switching when you're ready. Drop that foot, lift the other foot, come into your three-legged plank. And coming back out of it, okay? Now lowering through chaturanga, high cobra or upward dog. And if your knees are off the mat, you can do your hammocking with the hips. When you're ready, back to down dog. Okay, so again, we'll lift that. Now the right leg, three-legged down dog. Send the knee to the center of your chest. Exhale to lift. Inhale, knee to the right elbow. Exhale to lift. Inhale, knee to left elbow. And then lifting again. Step forward, warrior one. Arms up. Okay, find the breath here. You can do a little movement with cactus arms to get the upper torso loose. You can even draw the elbows back a little. Feel that chest opening, feeling like that. And then interlacing fingers, still keeping that chest opening. Inhale, heart center lifting. Okay, so we'll do a little standing split transition. Looking down, bring the hands down. You can heel toe the feet little, or the left foot a little closer, and lifting up the left leg. Reach up for your standing split. And then we're going to switch sides. So just step the left foot back and bring yourself back to down dog. Inhale, knees bending. Step your left foot forward, warrior one. So now we're on the other side. And again, here too, you can do the loosening up. Move the elbows back like you're walking through a doorway. This is actually a little good stretch for the pectorals if you stand in a doorway, okay? Squeeze palms together, little back bend, heart center lifting, reaching hands down. Transitioning to our standing split, just bring the hands down, heel toe the right foot forward, lift up the right leg. Okay, so you can use fingertips on the mat or a block to bring the hands closer. If you want, reach the forehead to that knee. When you're ready to step back, we're bending the front knee, stepping the right foot back to downward dog. From down dog to plank, drop both knees and just take a moment in child pose, mini resting pose here. Good. You can walk your hands up now toward the knees. Okay, so first we're going to lift up here for a little mini sequence where we'll do our camel as a back bend. But first of all, let's try one for the core. Basically in camel we have that support of the hands to the lower back. This one is just controlling how far back you can go, obviously comfortably, by engaging the core. So you're leaning back a little bit. Good. Maybe lean back a little more. So a little bit is going to be your thighs, a little bit is going to be your core. Come back up. Okay, so that was just a little different version of camel. Now for the real thing, lift the heart center, palms to lower back, roll the shoulders back, inhale, heart center lifting, exhale, hips forward. Good, heart center lifting, exhale, hips forward. One more inhale, lifting, exhale, hips forward. Keep that neck neutral as much as you can. Exhale, hips can drop back down towards the heels. Good. And just take a little counter stretch in child pose once again. And back to all fours, tucking toes, pressing up, down dog. Okay, bend knees, inhale, big steps or little steps or hopping forward. Inhale, find your flat back, halfway lifted. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale, reverse swan dive. And exhale, arms by your side, shaking it out a little bit. Okay, so getting into a little balancing here in tree. We're going to shift the weight into the left foot. Just for a moment, lift up the right leg. Give yourself a moment here. So let it come from the core and your drishti, the control of your balance. And we're going to bring the foot to the inner thigh. Okay, so you want to just take your moment here to let balance settle in. Either holding with that hand or releasing. And I'm rusty with my, let me just talk while I have you guys do this. Okay, palms to prayer. Good. Okay. So here in tree, some variations, you can either open your arms out or arms lifting up like branches. And an optional dropping of your hand to that top of that thigh on that side to take a little reach over with the left hand. Like you're taking a side stretch. Good. Now come back up, release, shake it out. And for the other side, shifting the weight now into the opposite foot. And depending on your clothing fabric, it's a little tricky. Okay, so just take a moment here, find the balance. Try to have a long spine. Shoulders are relaxed, gaze is steady. Arms can reach up, opening your branches. And for the optional side stretch, dropping your arm on top of that lifted thigh, reach the other way, maybe just a tiny side bend. Release, shake it out. Okay, so we're now stepping towards the back, or actually, yeah, back or forward. Let me see. I guess I'll step a little towards the back. So here, standing bow pulling, we're gonna shift the weight into the left foot, scoop up the right. Now you can do right from the inside or outside, depending on your preference. Relax that shoulder, the one with the where you're holding up the foot. Shoulder might want to resist a little bit, so relax it. Inhale, opposite arm up. Find your focus point. Lengthen on the inhale, kick. Just take it about a third of the way. Standing foot should have the weight distributed evenly. Maybe pivoting a little further. You can pretend there's a tabletop for your outstretched palm. You're not going to go past parallel to the floor here. Okay, when you're ready, try to come back out of it with that same deliberate control. Great, guys. Loosening everything up that needs it. Okay, so shifting the weight now to the opposite foot. This is the one that the linebackers and the New York Giants couldn't reach their feet because they were so muscle bound. They were like, oh, I can't grab my foot. Okay, so opposite arm is lifted. Start just by lifting and lengthening the spine. As you kick, take your time, maybe take it that first third or first half. Find your balance, standing legs straight, kicking, pivoting. Your gaze wherever it needs to be for balance. One more exhale to kick and pivot. Releasing when you're ready, shaking it out. Great, guys. Okay, so we're going to inhale, arms up. Now stepping to the front of the mat, and when you're ready to swan dive. If you need to take your sip of water, that's fine as well. Inhale to a flat back, halfway lifted. Exhale down. Step back to your next down dog. This time we're going to inhale to plank, lowering as slow as you can until you're resting on the belly for a couple of belly downs. So once we're down, arms perpendicular to the torso, angle them back a little bit if you want. Airplane wings, inhale, lift the heart, the chest, the chin, the legs. Good. And again, forehead pointing slightly towards the mat will keep the length in the back of the neck. Inhale, lift the legs a little higher. Keep that lift and then lift arms and chest up a little higher. Now inhale everything up, up, up. Exhale. Good. Release, turning your head right. Left ear on your mat. Just come back to the breath. Arms can rest by your sides, palms facing up. And just release into the mat. Let the body weight rest there. If there's any funniness in the angle of the neck, you can bring your chin towards the shoulder. That's helpful. Or whatever position is better for comfort. Just breathe deep into the back. Notice since your belly's against the floor, you have that reference where you can notice the back, what happens in your back muscles when you are breathing in, what happens when you're exhaling. And also maybe your belly being on the floor, that little bit of pressure there, doing its thing, helping digestion, elimination. Okay, so next for another belly down pose, interlace your fingers under your back. We'll keep the feet on the mat. You can inhale to lift the chest up. And again, the back of the neck can be a little long by pointing forehead down slightly. Inhale, lift a little higher. Reach back on the exhale with your hands. Inhale, lift up one more time, and then reach the hands back. Good. Release on the exhale, dropping down again. Now you can turn your head the other way. Take another breather. Good. Belly down, bow pulling, bringing, bending the knees first. Good. Now you can hold feet between toes and ankles. If you bring the knees slightly closer, sometimes they're going to want to fly apart, so you can set it up with the knees a little closer. Start with the forehead on the mat and inhale to lift the thighs up first. Exhale to lift your chest and chin up second. Inhale, lift the thighs up a little higher. Keep that lift on as you exhale. Next inhale, lift your chest and chin up a little higher. Good. Find length even though we're in a back bend. One more inhale, lift everything up, 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 and release when you're ready, turning your head to the side. Any lower back tightness that might have crept in, you can do a little rocking of the hips if it's helpful. Okay, let me see here. I'm going to try to angle this down a little bit. Okay, so for the next one, we're still doing a belly down, but sort of a belly down spinal twist with the palms on the mat under the forehead, lifting up the right leg and reaching it to your left side. Inhale to lift and releasing that foot down. Switching sides. Inhale, lift the left leg, reach it to your right. Just gonna watch and check in with you guys. And that foot may or may not touch the floor. No need to force it. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Good. So bringing both arms out front now. Let's start with bending the left knee, and we're going to bring both arms pointing to that side, to the left side. Reach up on your inhale and just rotate. You don't have to force it. You're going to open up that pectoral muscle there. Inhale up. Exhale, bring your hands back together. Inhale up. If you need a little pillow under the head, you can do that. Just exhale. Let the exhale take you there. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Last one here. Deep inhale. Just take it to where it wants to go. Maybe it'll end up touching on the floor or not. Inhale to come back up. Exhale to come back down. Good. We'll switch sides. So first you're going to straighten the legs, straighten the arms overhead, and then bending the opposite knee. Inhale to lift. Our hands should be on that same side. Exhale. Just reach the hand. See if you can keep the knee down. No need to force it. Inhale up. Exhale, palms together. Again, reaching up on the inhale. And just letting the pectoral muscle open. You're getting a little mini twist there. And then reach up, inhale, exhale down once again. Last one here. Maybe you'll end up opening up a little wider. Inhale up. So you can think of this as sort of a variation on spinal twists. Good. Now, I think we did this last time. Just stay in that laying down position, but on your right side, hands on top of each other, feet on top of each other. Inhale, lift the leg, touch your knee with your hand. Exhale, lower the hand, lower the foot, go a little slower. Inhale, so this is your core and your hip. Maybe go past the knee. Go for the shin. Exhale down. Last one, maybe going for broke and touching the toe or the ankle and releasing slow with control. Other side, so you can either roll to the belly and switch over. And once again, resting hands on hands, feet on feet. Inhale to lift. The leg and the arm touch the knee. Good. Slowly back down, hand to hand, foot to foot. Inhale to lift, maybe going a little past that knee. Exhale down. Work with the breath. Last one, going for the toes, maybe if you can reach. No need to force. Exhale down. Releasing. Now we're on to our backs for some back down work. Okay, so we'll start with a little bridge pose. Find your heels first to lift the hips up on your first inhale. Lower the hips on the exhale. Okay, so integrating the legs, the core, and even a little bit your hip and back muscles. Exhale, lower. Peel the hips off first on the inhale. Peel the back off. Then let the back roll back onto the mat, the hips down. Next time lifting, hold the lift. Walk the shoulder blades in a little bit if you wish, or keep palms on the mat if that's better for you, Jamie, in case a little less complicated for the hand. In each inhale, lifting, see if you can keep the heels rooted. Right? Some people like to lift the heels, but let's just keep them rooted and think of that arching of the back, gentle lifting on the inhale. When you're ready, release on the exhale, drop the hips down. And once the hips are, hands are out from under, windshield wiper your knees right, left, right, and left. Okay, so speaking of lifting, now we're lifting legs up, holding the back of the knees, flexing feet. You can let the arms hover here. Good. Exhale. Now we're reaching with the fingertips. Exhale to reach. Exhale to reach. Exhale, reach. Exhale, reach. And bringing knees over chest. Okay, this time we're going to play with the hips a little bit. You can hug the right knee to the chest. Move it across the chest, right and left. So just give yourself a moment to notice any rusty feeling in there. And then we'll do the same thing in a half happy baby pose. So just hold your right foot or yogi toe lock or shin, and you can do this movement here. Again, just taking notice of anything that needs a little extra stretch in the hamstring inner groin area. Okay, when you're ready, we're shaking that side out, hugging the left knee, and just bringing it up to your chest. Gentle movement, right, left across the chest. Soften any resistance in there. So you don't need to overstretch it. Sometimes the one side will be a little tighter. So for happy baby, this side, same thing. A little bit of movement can be very subtle. And you can play with how much you want to pull that knee towards the mat, paying attention again to your hamstring, inner groin sensation and stretch. Okay, and releasing when you're ready. Shake that leg out. Shake them both out for both legs now. Full happy baby, holding both feet. You can keep the tailbone rooted, shoulder blades rooted. You can do a little movement here. You can reach into the mat with the shoulder blades, flatten the whole back. And if you want, you can kick the feet wide or just keep the knees bent. Bring the knees back in. Okay, so we're going to, this one's also a little variation on a twist. Feet are going to be together. Interlace the fingers behind the back of the head. Okay, walk the feet to the right, maybe an inch or two, and drop the knees to the left. Then turn the head the opposite way. Try to stack your knees and ankles as much as you can. So you're going to feel a little mini twist for the spine. Good. Chest is going to feel like you're opening the pectorals. Stay with the breath here. And you might feel the hips too as they're stacked, a little something going on there. When you're ready to switch, come back up with the knees and then bring the feet to center first, then heel toe the feet a little bit to the left of center. Drop the knees right, turn the head left. Stack knees and ankles as best you can. And that left shoulder blade and arm might not be touching down, but the pectoral is just releasing a little bit, so maybe eventually. No need to force it. Breathe. Allow the muscles to release. And when you're ready to come up, we're bringing knees up. Good. And then we're going to straighten the legs on the mat. Arms perpendicular, right leg lifting, dropping it to the left side. And then we're going to circle. So half circle over the opposite leg and out to the opposite direction. Lift, inhale, draw a half circle. Try to hover as close as you can to your mat. Inhale to lift. Last one. Little half circle there. Of course, half my arm is under the couch now. All right, release and switch. So other leg up. Arms are, outstretched or reaching under the couch. And to your side. Then hover over the opposite foot, little half circle, reaching out opposite direction. Inhale, lift, let your core be there for you, as well as your hip muscles getting that workout. And we're just moving fluid around in the hip joint as well, so which is helpful. And then another half circle lift when you're ready. Inhale up, release, shake it out. For Shavasana now, we're coming back to the breath. Close the eyes, palms facing the ceiling. And coming back to your breath. Relax face, your forehead, jaws, neck, shoulders, arms, hands, fingers, all the way down to the hips. All the way down to your feet. Let this be your moment to restore at the end of your practice. Gently wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Rotate your wrists and your ankles. Turn your head gently side to side. chest. Rocking gently side to side. You can roll to your side, take a little moment there. Couldn't get my music to work, so I just figured I'd play you guys a little lullaby. Okay, so we're gonna sit up gently to face the front. We'll take our final purification breath. Great, great, great practice, guys. You guys did great. All right, hope we got a nice little stretch and a nice little sweat. Okay, we'll take a nice big inhale, arms up. Sharp exhale. Inhale up. Inhale up. Namaste. And I'm going to give you guys a quick, why don't we reconvene at 8:40 in about 10 minutes if you need a quick little break for bathroom, water, or whatever need be. And we'll come back and we'll get into our vinyasa workshop here, okay? Things to do for sequencing. So I'm also going to take a quick break and I'll be right back with you. See you soon. Da-da-da. Okay. So if you guys want to, you could unmute your mics so we can, we're going to do a little open discussion as well as uh, just, coming up with ideas for how, what kind of sequence we want to do or how we're going to teach. So, there we go. I can hear signs of life. There we go. Okay, so when you guys get down to, okay, I'm gonna do my teaching now, right? I'm just gonna make sure Naomi's. Oh, there you go. I can see you. Okay. So yeah, so let's say if you've already are always been doing yoga from the point of view of a of being the student, as it were, or the yogi or yogini, having your practice, right? Doing your practice. It's different, right, in a lot of ways from teaching, in that, for example, if you've never taught a yoga class, first of all, it can be, can present its own challenges until you get used to it. But I know in some of our trainings we've had people who have done maybe a different kind of teaching, and maybe, I mean, possibly not related to the body, right? But maybe dance or different kind of exercise class. Any of you guys, has anybody done that? Okay, and I hadn't. The only thing I'd ever done was teach English as a second language, but before. So when I started teaching, the thing about after you finish your teacher training, right? Now my training we only started practice teaching maybe in the last, I don't know, 3 weeks or something, 2 or 3 weeks, right? And by then, see, that's why we throw you guys into practice teaching right away, is that it took so long, we're absorbing all that information, but then when it was finally time to teach, we couldn't get the words out of our mouth, So that was one thing that was frustrating for us, and just those little things, So uh, when we do this with you guys and we do it early, where you're basically, even if it's just one pose, teaching one pose, what words you're going to use, the mechanics of it will become natural over time, right? Um, so let's say, first of all, even though you haven't taught, what kind of class do you envision yourself teaching? And let's say if your reference is some teachers that you may have had that made you just said, I like that style of teacher, right? So can anybody chime in about, maybe based on a certain type of teacher or teaching that you have had that you would like your thing to be that way, or maybe you have a different way you've arrived at, what kind of class you'd like to teach?
Should we go in a certain order or?
Oh, sure. Why don't you, yeah, you can go first, Naomi. Yeah.
Okay. So I definitely see myself teaching, like, if I do, even to friends, like kind of a mix of yoga Pilates. So there's this girl who I am obsessed with. Her name is Melissa Wood. I don't know if anyone knows her. I love her so much.
Okay.
And she actually changed my life. Like, she just transformed my, like, self-love. I don't know, just like the whole mental shift happened with her for me.
Oh, okay.
So, like, not physical, like it was all mental, and she just like really connected with me. So I definitely see myself like doing that with friends if I'm leading classes, like a similar vibe.
Good. Yeah. So, okay. I'm gonna check that out. Melissa Wood, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys can, let us know if there are any names out there that maybe they're on the web, and we can also check them out. Let's see. Anybody else? Diana, maybe?
So definitely like a combination of different people. I mentioned in the beginning, when I first introduced myself, that the way I got into this teacher training or heard about it was through Chelsea Forbes.
Oh yeah.
And basically she's my teacher. Yeah, I consider a lot of people my teachers also. So another person would be Kate Goss from Power Flow.
Oh yes, I've taken her class. She's great.
Yeah. But they're also different in style. And what I like about Chelsea is Chelsea has a lot of influence from like Katona Center and that type of style of teaching, and looking at a lot of poses, like not just like the physical benefits, but also like the symbolism. And I like listening to it that way. And how I started yoga was through Yoga with Adrienne's, and even just Yoga with Adrienne and her just simple sequences is like really nice. Just like to be able to get it that simple for like a wide range of like audiences to understand. I love that stuff.
Yeah, she's the one with the dog, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I've seen, Sarah turn me on to Yoga with Adrienne. So I'll just chime in real quick, because when my instructor, when I was being trained, his take on it was that the teacher should be as neutral as possible. And he said, he put it, he was from Colombia, so the way he said it was to have no personality, is the way he said it, right? And I thought, well, that's kind of strange, because bringing a little bit of personality into it can add to the mix, right? But I guess what he was sort of trying to say was, some people will have a persona, right? Personality, persona. And they might think, oh, I have to do that. I have to, it's like showbiz, showtime. I have to, act a certain way to keep people interested. But sometimes it can be, that can turn the class that you're giving into a class that's about you, the teacher, and not about your class, your yogis and yoginis. It should be about them, and that's what you're there for. It's not for you putting on your little show. It's them. You have to really focus out on them. So I think he was just saying, you have to come and maybe check your ego at the door and all those things, because you might, you might have a bad day that day and now you don't feel like teaching or you're tired or no one's interested in that. So what his point was, in the beginning when I started teaching, I was trying to be, sort of neutral to the point where I was boring myself with my own class, right? So once in a while, little asides and a little bit, trying to keep some light humor. You don't have to do stand-up comedy, but I have seen some teachers that try to make too many jokes too often. Then it's like it can throw you off balance. So anyway, the classes that I took that I liked felt like supported by whatever teacher, whether it was a female or male, that you would feel sort of this brotherly, sisterly support. I don't know what other term to use it to describe that, but the ones that I maybe shied away from were the army boot camp style, yelling at you, making you do like, 7 wheel poses in a row, weird things, a little bit too over the top. So that's just my 2 cents. Okay, how about Kelsey? Oh, yes.
So the first yoga teacher I ever had, this was like going on 10, 11 years ago, at some gym I was going to at the time. I started taking this woman, her name was Doreen, and I loved her. That's what I remember. She was just very calm, very zen, and she really emphasized that, the class was for everybody at all levels, which I was always like timid to start new classes. So I really felt comfortable with her because, she made it just, like you said, all about us. And she really actually liked to personalize the experience with everybody in the class as well. Like she would walk around at the end, and I mean, now you can't do this, but she would like adjust your shoulders and your hips. I just really liked her energy. She was just very calming. So that's how I'm trying to be.
Okay, good. Yeah, right. And then Kelsey W.
I guess I can go back to one teacher that stands out to me too. Is actually a hot yoga studio that I was going to for a little bit when I was living in central New Jersey. And there was this one instructor that leaving her classes felt like so much work, but I still felt so lifted spiritually. Like I left it and just felt like I was on top of the world. And like even during the last few poses, I feel like my chest felt so open, like not in terms of like physically open, but I just felt so light. So I feel like when I approach a class, I would like to kind of put a lot of physical work into it. So you feel like you got a lot for your time, but
Yeah.
way where you feel really in tune with yourself at the end of it, not just like boot camp, like, you busted your butt and you're like, okay, now I don't feel stretched or anything like that. I just feel like someone was yelling at me. So I'm not that, but.
So it sounds like, because when you said, your heart feeling lighter or whatever, maybe not even necessarily being a physical thing, but almost like up here or in here, that I think is a sign of, a teacher that's just being mindful of the inner life of people and not just the physical body, like working muscles. You're not just working muscles, right? So yeah, that's a huge compliment that you're giving this person for I guess, like, and after you do your teaching, I mean, people are very grateful. I think a lot of times you get the people may never have met that teacher coming up and saying thank you. To me, that's the other. It's almost the bigger part of the satisfaction you're going to get from yoga, and it's beyond the monetary. You're feeling this, this it just makes you happy, right? To help people and realize you're making a difference in their life too, right? So
Yeah,
it's
like I have ideas of how to work the body physically, but I'm like, how do you reach that point to make somebody feel so like lifted, like, you know, like stuff like a big heart or something after the class? Like that's something where I really want to learn that.
just out of curiosity, would she say like certain, you know, like sometimes people will pepper their uh, instruction with a little mini, you know, I don't know, anecdote or a story or a reference to, you know, some spiritual book? Or was she doing that, or what was the?
I feel like she was kind of quiet for the most part. Like
Uh,
she was paid a lot of attention to everybody. So I feel like that was someone too that really helped me understand like if I was a wrong shape in a pose.
yeah,
And yeah, like she also was someone who in the beginning of the class, like one of the only people I've ever really seen do this is like, what do you guys want to do today? What do you want to stretch? Like, what do you want to get into? And that was kind of like, it just felt like it was really for you and everybody there. And it wasn't just,
yeah,
all right, hey, we're here, get on your mats.
yeah. Right, that's the opposite. Those are the two opposites for me. It's because I'll ask a lot. I'll say, hey, any areas of the body that need a little more attention today, you know? And so that's good, because the ones that are like, get on your mat and get into down dog, you know, that feels like it's a little too what's the word? I don't know, jarring, you know, like they're already kind of barking orders. Whereas this is more like what you said. It's like the teacher is including you, and you can give input on how that teacher is going to teach the class. That's wonderful, right? I'd much rather have that teacher than the one that's very rigid and it's my way or the highway, you know, boot camp or whatever. How about you, Jamie? Any teachers or like, you know, even if it's somebody on YouTube, you know, anything, anything, or like what is the class that you would like to teach based on how good you might have felt with somebody's instruction? Oh, I can't hear Jamie for some reason. No. Yeah. Maybe you got to unmute it on.
Can
Oh,
you hear
there
me
you
now?
go. Okay. Yep. Yep.
All right, I don't know. The headphones are being weird, so not really sure. Like I've been just watching random people on YouTube. I've done a few of my girlfriend's classes, Autumn's.
Yeah.
Really like her stuff. I really like how she explains herself, and she's really into like core workout, and I am all about core workout because I got a little tub here, and I'm trying to figure that out too.
Yeah.
And I've always been a core kind of person. You know, I break dance like for 10 years, you
All
know, so
right.
core is really important. And now since, you know, the chubs came in and I'm not as flexible or as agile as I used to be,
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like this is the right, you know, because I only like to play basketball. I don't like to work out that much in the gym. I'm real lazy. You know, I like to sit on the couch, eat my potato chips.
Yeah.
You know, and just chill out. But like right now, I need to find something to better my life, you know, my style.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I can find something through this yoga teacher training, be inspired a little bit more, figure out my voice, and then learn how to project it into a positive and, you know, very enlightening, you know, way to other people, then I think, you know, you guys have done your job and I figured it out from everybody as I've gone through the process.
You would love Melissa Wood. She's all about the core. I don't know. Has anyone ever taken one of her classes?
I feel like
besides me?
Melissa Wood, you mentioned her, right? No?
Oh, okay. Well, she's like a lifestyle, not a class. So I feel like that's also something interesting to think about. Like, it's not like when you leave her class, what she taught is done. Like, it goes with you for like throughout the rest of, I don't know, it's just like a daily practice that you do.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I'd like to touch on some things. For example, well, let's, you know, once, you know, I thought that starting with the question, what kind of teaching you would envision doing yourself, you know, that would be a good start. So getting into technical things, for example, you know, of course, right now we're probably all in Zoom land for a while. So those are some things to consider when you're going to teach. If it's going to be Zoom, well, by now we're probably almost getting used to it, but for some of it's kind of a new thing. But just let's say let's break it down. So when you walk into a classroom, whether it's in person, or you're looking at a bunch of people on a monitor, you basically want to be there for them, right? So when you're teaching, always, being mindful of little things like what direction are you looking when you're giving an instruction. If you're on your belly and you don't want to be talking into the into the mat, and your voice will not be heard clearly or whatever. Also, how much you're projecting with your voice, your tone of voice. The people who sound the nicest to me, it's a little more soothing kind of voice, and it's less, barking orders kind of voice. But that's just me. I know some people like the boot camp style better, so go figure. But to me also, yoga is, we would we're always focusing on you guys teaching, from the heart, not trying to hurt people by doing crazy things in a crazy sequence too that might not warm them up properly. We don't want anybody getting hurt. But you guys have probably already taken maybe some classes where it was a little bit like, oh, I didn't like that, I didn't like that, I didn't like that. Maybe the teacher did things in a weird order. Um, and I mean, I'll leave some classes complaining to myself or Sarah, like they started us on, doing something that was just like no warm up at all. So all of those little things are important because it's going to set the tone for the rest of the class. So, like you said, I think it was Diana, like what poses would you like to do today? What areas of the body need a little more attention today? At Chase Bank, a lot of these people sit and just hardly get up, so their back and their hips are really tight. So, and shoulders, their neck, it's all that computer born injury or tightness. So depending on the let's say the place you're teaching at too. Uh, Chase Bank is a corporate place, so they might want you to not mention certain things or not get into spiritual talks or anything. They just want you to get right to the workout because they all have to get in, do their yoga, and get out. So if you start with 15 minutes of chanting, you know, that kind of thing would be more appropriate if you're in a yoga center. And yoga centers are more like, let's chant for a while, and chanting in Sanskrit, which nobody usually understands, and things like that. So and also, whether you're teaching one-on-one in a private situation, whether it's in person or it's on Zoom, or whether it is in a group situation, right? So one-on-one private, you can really focus in on one person's needs. And when it's a group, you will have to just keep an eye out. So let's say even sometimes if I've had 30 people in my class, um, you would think that you'd get exhausted from trying to look at everybody, but you intuitively will just be looking at everybody. And sometimes the person who needs the help the most is they're just going to stand out. Like when people are doing something with their arms, the person's like doing something almost different, like that person's not even following what I'm doing, or or they don't understand, so maybe you go over there and help them a little bit. But even on Zoom, like I can watch you guys and say, like Jamie, especially I'm worried about your hand, so Jamie, try this, try that, or drop your hips, Kelsey, or all those things. And I've been taking some of the Zoom classes that Sarah takes with the people out on the West Coast, and noticing how good they are at they'll call out the names. And this is the good thing about Zoom. You have the names on the screen, right? I mean, sometimes that would take me forever to learn people's names in person. And then I'd want to say, I don't know their name anymore, from one week to the next sometimes. So yeah, it's good. You can pinpoint people's needs as the class progresses, but only if you're really making it about them and not about you, right? So in the name of that, making it for them, uh, knowing how to read the room, even if it's the room on your screen, because let's say you have planned a specific sequence of poses and you want to get through exactly that, you might have to change halfway through because of either seeing people tired, or maybe it's suddenly it's these people are more on the beginner level than what I'm about to teach. Maybe what I'm going to teach will be a little bit too intense for a beginner level, or maybe there's a lot of elderly people in this class, so now I can't do certain things that might have been better for a younger crowd, right? All that stuff. So what kind of vibe are you going to have, right? You might feel different on different days, right? But in general, at least my point of view is, always making people feel supported, uh, you know, giving them a lot of options, for example, anything when you're going to be on your knees, if you need, put a towel under your knees, or some kind of cushion under your knees. If you have this injury or that injury, try it this other way, things like that. So having the flexibility to not only modify the whole sequence that you had planned, right? But even maybe being able to improvise, because if you've taught enough, you'll have enough of a repertoire of poses in your toolkit that you're going to be able to change the class on the fly, right? So some people that really want you to do it a certain way, and then if you don't do it that way, you're in the doghouse, Like I've had some teachers that in down dog, I had to have my knees a little bit bent because of a low back issue, right? And I'd have a teacher who'd say, "You got to straighten your legs," and I'd say, "It's not going to happen today," But when you're feeling bossed around by the teacher, you're going to be less prone to want to come back. Um, and so yeah, just the tone of voice, how well you're projecting. Of course, you don't want to be too quiet, but you don't want to be just yelling the whole time. Timing, in terms of how long are you going to hold people in poses, right? You can either do the class and model every single pose, or if you decide you're finally able to break away and watch people and verbalize the instructions, so you can pay attention to what they're doing. If you're able to do that, the one of the big advantages is that you're now, you're not trying to do two things at once, right? So oftentimes with the sun salutations, I'll start a few rounds and finally break away so I can go, okay, looking at what's going on, um, and helping anybody who's in any kind of trouble. Um, okay, so just basically that supportive thing. The sweetest sound that anyone loves to hear is the sound of their own name. So when you say, if I say Kelsey, and if I know there's two Kelseys, I got to make sure Kelsey W. And I was just wondering about how should I, if I have to say which one. There's I do see Weinberger as your last name, Kelsey, but Kelsey number two. I don't want to call you Kelsey number two. What should I call you?
It's S. Niece is my last name. I don't know how to change it.
Oh wait, sorry? Could you repeat that?
It's Niece. It's with an S. You could just
S.
say S.
Right. So I could say Kelsey S, Kelsey W. It's people. You don't need to feel like you're being silly by asking. If there's two Kelseys, can I call you Kelsey this and you Kelsey that? people are gonna, they'll feel valued. So the sweetest sound to your ears is the sound of your own name. If you can use that, just that little thing right there, you've won the crowd over. Um, and also just the pacing of the let's say the vinyasa, you're doing your sun salutations, you can do it a little slower in the beginning. Give time for the people to fold forward, take a breath or two, then do their halfway lift, and then fold forward again, and then reverse swan dive. So when I step off the mat and I start doing the instruction that way, for me to imagine what the timing has to be, in my mind I'm saying swan dive and I'm exhaling. I'm feeling a nice long exhale in my mental clock, or even breathing together with you guys. Inhale, halfway lift, hold it a little bit, exhale, swan dive, just hold it and hang there 2 or 3 breaths, and I'll breathe together with you guys, right? So what that creates is a rhythm. And if you do things too fast, people can't breathe. Like if you say swan dive, inhale, lift halfway, swan dive, reverse swan dive, in that space of time, you have not given people enough time to breathe, right? But if after they've done a few sun salutations, you speed it up a little bit, okay? You can first say, we're going to repeat everything we just did, just a little faster, okay? So you're giving them a little heads up, and when they do it, now they're like, oh, okay, I'm ready for it. I remember when I started, I did a lot of Bikram and no vinyasa classes. So I thought, oh, now I know Bikram, I know yoga. When I did my first vinyasa, it was like, what? And you don't know where you're going, because if you haven't done it, you have to follow, right? So, but some of the teachers were doing it too fast, so I just couldn't keep up, right? So I think it's a cool way. If you do that first flow in the beginning, the maybe 2 or 3 sun salutations at a slower pace, then you can work up a little faster speed. But to turn yoga into aerobics, I think goes against the spirit of yoga, because if you're going to get all out of breath, and now you're kind of, oh, I'm just not doing it right because it's like I can't even keep up. You're not making people feel good. You're making them feel like they're late for the train or something, and that's definitely not yogic. Okay, so all right, so props as well. Whether you're in person or on Zoom, try to notice when you look at people's spaces, sometimes they're crammed between the bed and the dresser, on this tiny patch that they're if they lie down, they're not going to be able to do this. So you could sort of say, hey, hey, Diana, move the cat over, move your German Shepherd over. He's taking up all the space. Tell him to go. So you can, help people figure out their situation, and also encourage them to have some sort of reflection, whether it's a mirror or even, a sliding glass door that's right there that they can see themselves in, so they can look at things like alignment. Even looking at yourself on the screen is helpful, right? Um, and remind them of the bolsters. If they don't have a yoga block, it can be a big fat book or a shoebox. If they don't have straps, yoga strap, hey, just grab your belt, whatever it is. Also things like what was the other thing? Well, your basic props are going to be a strap, some blocks, and maybe a bolster. So even the bolster can be a rolled up yoga blanket if you don't have to have a very high bolster, right? It can be a pillow. So, people don't have to go out and buy the props if they have something handy. So encouraging them to use the props when needed is also important. And even things like temperature of the room. So, going into a gym, let's say, that they might have just taught an aerobics class and they were blasting the air conditioning. Now the room is 65 degrees and you're freezing, trying to stretch, and that temperature is going to possibly, you might pull a muscle because it's just too cold. And yoga is not aerobics, so, having the ability, and the permission to switch the temperature on the thermostat is very important. And I had to, yeah, I mean, I've had to like have several discussions with owners of gyms, like, it's like, if you want me to teach, it's going to have to be, I have to be able to control the thermostat, right? So, and then again, what kind of class is it? Is it going to be a Bikram where you want, 90 plus degrees in the room, or at least the high 80s? So let's say if people are on Zoom and they're doing it at home, you would say, okay, we're going to do Bikram, so get your space heater and crank up the heat a little bit, and maybe wear some warm clothing if you want to get a little more sweaty. Things like that are important. Um, and also knowing how to mirror people, right? Because in Zoom there is a button that I think it's mirror the image, because otherwise when you turn on the camera and you raise your right arm, you see your left arm going up. So there's actually a little click box in Zoom that says mirror, and then it'll flip the image so that it looks like a mirror. When I raise my right arm, I'm seeing my right arm coming up. But when you're teaching them, they're facing you, right? So if I want to say raise your right arm, I have to raise my left arm, right? So just the mirroring, that comes with time as well, right? Because you're going to say, now I can't remember my right from my left because you literally, most of the days you remember, but when you're mirroring, it gets confusing, right? So let's see. And finally, you're the way you're sequencing the poses, right? Um, you would never have somebody, do a pose standing and then say, now just lie down on your back. You want to have a way to get there that would be a logical sequence of steps, right? So, you guys can still see me here. If I go over to, right? So more or less, okay, my head might be a little cut off, but let me play with this for a second. Tilt it up a little. Right, so I mean, a lot of times the swan dive can lead to a, lifting up, and then like, okay, should I do chair from a standing position, or should I have them come down, bend the knees, and then have to lift up into chair, which has its own merit, right? So a lot of times this kind of thing, combining balancing and, you could say, let's do this. There's another one that's let's do this. Don't lose your balance, but still keep those knees bent as you're doing the movement, right? So now you've combined balancing with, chair pose. Your balancing poses, for example, there's a whole balancing vinyasa, right? So one of them was, let's say they're in triangle, and you can say, okay, we're gonna do, we'll come out of triangle. Well, let's say you're in triangle, you can have them go into half moon, balancing half moon. Drop the hand, heel toe that back foot a little closer. Give them the instruction for the lift of the leg. You can combine this with, let's go the other way. So maybe starting with standing split, and then keep the opposite hand on the mat and come up the other way. and then finally do your step back. Or from standing split to bend the knee to drop into a spinal twist, you're going to sit down right from there, you know. You can also, after the twist, you can have them, oh, let me just do it the other way for space. So, okay, they're done with their twist. Let's seamlessly integrate that with another pose, which would be swinging this leg around the back and stepping back to your down dog, right? Or this guy here, three-legged to this, to pigeon, right? And same thing other side, three-legged, maybe this, and then pigeon, right? What's the other one? Like things like when you're in this pose, you can have them drop down. Wait, what was the first one? Oh, the intense side stretch. This guy can lead to this guy coming out the other way, right? Also, the same thing with in triangle, right? You can have triangle be regular triangle and then rotate it to the opposite side. And they might need a block for that, like I usually do, right? So if you're in your triangle, rotate the other way and then come back up. You can also play with combining your triangle and your warrior two, right? Sometimes they might have to shift the foot a little closer for triangle. There's also these little jumps where it's like, we're here, now let's do this. And let's do this. We're back on the other side, right? Or just from here to this to do, you know, some of this stuff. You can also kind of just develop little extra stretches as you go along. So if you're doing this one, this separate leg stretch, walk the hands to one side, walk them to another, maybe heel toe the feet closer, and while we're here, do some stuff, you know. 3 or 4 variations while you're in this position. There's one where you kind of get to hang and let your spine decompress. Shift one side, shift the other side. Switch, always keeping the legs bent because the legs will get a workout just holding up your weight. Same thing here, right? Even there's this person, Tara Stiles. Have you guys ever heard of Tara Stiles or Tara Stiles? Anyway, she's like a model and she became a yoga teacher. She has a cool way of teaching that's less, it's just like colloquial language, right? So she's not so technical and, you know, using terms. It's more like just let your head hang like seaweed or whatever, you know. So she'll use images like that, right? But her husband, so another thing you can do is say, let's take yoga and break out of the very stiff linear thing of, you know, everything has to be very, you know, very stiff and linear. This guy was doing it like this. Just flow down and loosen everything up. And then come back up to your halfway lift and do a little bit of this. And when you're ready to do your step back, just get all wiggly about it. And when you're coming back forward, just do it all wiggly. And, you know, he's getting out more kinks this way. You know, when you're coming back up, do a little of this, you know. So things like that, it might be a little silly, but when I saw that, I was like, there you go. You know, sometimes people want you to be very martial, you know, about it, very military. And to me, that's kind of like, that's also not very yogic. So if you guys find ways to, you know, break up some of the, you know, you don't necessarily need to reinvent yoga so much as, you know, create some variations on a central theme, right? Um, you could decide, I'm going to do a whole class where it's only about the hips and the back, right? And it's great, you know, it's you're really focusing on those areas. Maybe some of the poses are meant for other parts of the body, but if you say today's theme is hips, today's theme is letting go, just letting go of frustration. So if you want to add a psychological element, if you put them in a certain pose and they're struggling because you kind of, you know, gave them a couple poses that are a little more challenging, you can, while they're holding it, you can talk about, you know, try to tune in how you feel, what part of you is struggling. Do you need to just back off the pose and be a little less deep in the pose, you know, and then exhale into that deeper expression, you know. So maybe it's because you're tight, but you could also be injured. So you can always offer these little, you know, it's not just that you're giving an instruction, but you're also saying, what about this? What about that? You know, pay attention to this, pay attention to that. Now, if you talk too much, which I hope I'm not doing right now, people will just be like, oh, they'll start tuning you out as well. So I think that was it Kelsey Weinberger that said something about the teacher who also left some silence in between so people could just do the pose, right? I like that kind of thing too, right? If you're going to give me so many details of instruction that I've lost, you know, it's just too much. I'm going to start getting distracted, and you know, you want your students to be present in the moment. So if you can tailor how much patter you're going to use, you know, economy of words is really something great to work on. Some of those key phrases, you know, swan dive, reverse swan dive, you know, soften the belly, you know, so you're breathing a little bit better, melt your shoulders, you know, all those little key words. A lot of them you'll hear over and over, so those are easy. Others you might want to put some extra detail into it, but just you just want to be careful that it's not a barrage of words, you know. So also you can do like this: one sun salutation, you talk about one detail, like uh, maybe the bending of the knee, the softening of the knees, or the straightening of the knees, playing around with that. Second round of sun salutations when you're in plank. Now let's hold it a little longer, you know, little variations on the same thing, right? So if you don't want to fit all the instruction of every detail into one sun salutation, you can do several sun salutations and each time add a little detail, you know, so they don't have to think about it all at once, right? And so, you know, so basically that whole sequencing thing, you know, when we talk about the 9 categories of seamless sequencing, right? You want, you know, the warm up, the awareness of the breath, and also what we call encouraging presence, you know, being present in the moment. At the beginning, you're saying, you know, let's leave our busy day behind and dedicate this time to our mat. You don't have to think about all that other stuff until the end of this practice. So this is your time for you. You know, little things like that encourage presence. Maybe you could say during the setting of the intention, you're going to dedicate this to something special, or even letting go of something that you don't need to hold on to anymore, you know. So those little things are great. You can also revisit your intention at the end of class, while they're in Shavasana, if you want, revisit your intention. And even when you're coming out of Shavasana, you can say, now before we get up and go out into our busy day, try to carry this little Shavasana peaceful vibe with you, right? Sometimes we just run out and then we're back to slouching and rushing and feeling all stressed out. But if you can carry some of that little Shavasana, good vibe with you, it can really make a difference in your day. But if you don't tell people that, they won't know that, right? So, and then your breathing, whether you're going to just do your regular breathing, your ujjayi, or breath of fire, right? Alternate nostril is a really good one. That one actually is very energizing in a way, because you kind of oxygenate your brain for a little bit. I like to do that in the seated warm-ups. So, your seated warm-ups with your side stretches, followed by your tabletop warm-ups on all fours, your child pose, maybe some of that, lifting the leg up when you're on all fours, doing some of that. And just the alignment right at the outset, if you're making sure that wrists and elbows are in line, knees and hips are in line when you're on all fours, feet are not too close together, not too far apart. So alignment being an important thing still at the beginning of your warm-ups during tabletop. And then centering, just integrating the body, the mind, and the breath. And so when you're standing and you're doing balancing poses as well, to find balance when you're having an off day, for example. I like to always mention, when you're doing balancing poses, you're teaching yourself patience, and you're being kind to yourself, right? Because instead of some people get frustrated when they try to do tree and they just keep coming out of it, and it's like, oh. So I always say, just anytime you don't do it the same way you did it all perfect yesterday, don't worry. Let it go. Or just encourage people to let go of the more perfectionist tendencies we tend to have, right? Like, don't worry about it. Tomorrow will be different. Each day is its own day, right? So yeah, that whole thing of centering and presence, as far as you are present in this moment. You're not thinking about what you left back home or what you have to do the next hour. You're just in the moment, right? And that goes a long way to just keep reminding people of that. Very subtle, but tune in to when you're dropping your hips. Did I go too far? Do I need to back off a little bit? And you don't have to say much to make that happen, right? So you won't be distracting people. You'll just be peppering your instruction with those details, right? And then we've got your sun salutations. What sun salutations are is basically almost like the aerobics of yoga is the sun salutations, right? Think of the sun salutations as, you had the preliminary warm up, but now sun salutations, you are firing up people's energy to a new level, and they're going to be a little more sweaty, a little more movement, right? It's a flow. So you can talk about that as well. Like I said, once again, if you're planning on doing the first few sun salutations slow, let people feel the poses, right? Before you speed it up, if you plan to speed it up, maybe not too much, but you can say, now we're going to just do the same thing we did, a little faster, and just prepare, letting people look ahead. Like when they're done with mountain pose, you can say, now the next pose coming up, we're still in mountain pose, but just so you know, we're going to do, I don't know, warrior 3. So I'm going to have you guys step to the back of your mat. When you're ready, And then, you know, it's like that little look ahead into what's next in the practice is also great. So warrior poses, a warrior 1 and 2, or even warrior 3, all of them, you know, we consider empowering poses, right? So you can also touch on some of the benefits of certain poses. Oftentimes I am, oh God, you know what? Our clock is set 5 minutes fast, so I'm already, I'm already there. But let me just wrap it up with, then we got our seated poses, okay? Seated poses followed by our belly downs and back downs. So, and finally our shavasana. So if you have that whole logical sequence of poses, right? You know, ideally, even if it's just one balancing pose, try to get that in there. You know, if you find that you're running out of time, like I am right now, you can, you know, just say, all right, we're just going to do one back down, one belly down because we got to go to Shavasana because the next class is coming in. All that stuff, right? Any questions, guys? I know we're like a minute or two over already, but I talked for a blue streak just now. So any questions, let me know. And I guess if you have any questions, you can email me if you want. But that was the general idea, is just like, I think what we did in the beginning was the most important thing. Like, think of who you did class with, and the ones that you like, that will usually inform the teachers that you liked, will inform the kind of class you would like to teach, right? And basically that's it, guys. Okay, I'm gonna wish you guys a sweet rest of your Monday night. Namaste.
This was a fun class, Tomas. I enjoyed it.
All right.
Yeah,
all
me
right.
too. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do love the discussion. You know, we're gonna have more of that also with when we get a little bit into yoga sutras, which is always fun. So thanks once again, and namaste. Have a great night.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.